Thanks once again to CAIT and to ADB for starting this initiative. I see about 50 people in the audience here, and if you're looking at about 65 lakh vendors to be on the GST from 1st of April, I think there has to be a lot of training efforts that has to be put in, because they will not know, they haven't done it in the past, and the fear of going wrong is still going to stick in their minds. That's the first thing I wanted to place here. The second thing, before I answer your question, a few points that I wanted to raise. The second thing is, the overall idea of GST is superb. From a big data perspective, we are looking at about 250 to 400 billion line items of the economic transactions in that digital tax office. So for a big data scientist, probably he will just salivate if he's told this is the kind of the data that's being stored, which is actually the economy of a country. Which also brings about avenues where macroeconomic combined with microeconomic studies could be conducted, where you are able to sort of assess how things are progressing, where what is doing well, what is not doing well, and then come up with a lot of, there are adjunct advantages of having such a fantastic digital tax office in place. But my fear is, while this is a fabulous dream, the details have to be spelled out in such a way that it is simple. Excise, we know the travails of complying with excise and the Excise Act. And it's a system of fear. It's not a system of assessment or a system of proof. It's a system of fear. And that fear is going to continue. There has to be a very, very strong stance taken by the government and some steps to be taken to ensure that, hey, by registering in, by submitting your data, you will not therefore be subject to scrutiny. That's very important. And fear of audit and fear of going wrong should be taken out. More so in the SMB sector, because they're probably doing it for the first time. They've always filed on paper probably, and they get their credits verified at the end of the year, and they're done. So that is one thing. Second thing is, even for large corporates, it's very beautifully woven in. The government says that, or the policy says, if your vendor has uploaded his supply invoices into the GSTN system, then you can take the credit, otherwise you'll have to reverse it in 2 months' time. Which means there is some kind of an imperative, there is some kind of a responsibility that is put on large enterprises to ensure that their vendors also get compliant. Everyone. So where do we go? So how do we go about that? That is one other stream that will have to be looked into. And thirdly, if you want to bring in, I'll give another example. There's this HSN code that is mandated for materials. What is the advantage of the policy which says small and medium-sized businesses can have a 4-digit HSN code, whereas large enterprises should have an 8-digit HSN code? What are you giving as an advantage to the SMB? Because the harmonization happens at the HSN code level. So that is one. You are not supporting the small and medium businesses by saying 4-digit lagao, 8-digit se haath to nahi dukega. What's the problem? Put the 8 digits also in. The other point that comes up is in terms of reconciliation efforts. This is another good thing that's come out from GST, which says your returns will get auto-populated, and therefore you don't have to spend too much time on filing your returns. But there will be reconciliation efforts from our side, because we'll want to ensure that what I have computed is the same as what GSTN has computed. The last point that I want to raise here is GSTR 1, as we see it in the draft today, speaks of Aggregation by HSN code. Why do you want me to aggregate by HSN code? Why don't you allow me to submit the invoice data as is? You're having a huge system. You're anyway dealing with 200 billion invoice line items or 400 billion invoice line items. Your hardware will definitely take care of it. Why does policy get defined in a way where we have to do some work? We'll give you the data as is. You can process it. The reason I'm bringing all these points is these are all practices that have to be put in. If you frame a law or a policy, keeping the old law or policy as a reference, I think we'll end up repeating the same mistakes. That is the only thing that I wanted to ensure, because practices are to make businesses run their business and help compliance happen automatically. GSP is another thing. So you have the GSP or you can go to the portal. But like as the other panelist was mentioning, why should I have a GSP? Why can't I do it via a WhatsApp or something like that? It has to be mobile first. Now a GSP, going to a portal, keying in the data or consuming an API, all this moves us towards laptops and other things. So that is something that will also have to be eased out. Maybe it has to be worked out. So these are all areas where if you are able to streamline, then technology makes business run seamlessly and makes compliance actually, you just don't know. You do it as part of your thing and compliance happens, automatically. That would be my submission in terms of what should be done so that we have some kind of best practice in place.